Howdy, and welcome to the Outside In Podcast, your source for the latest happenings in integrated facilities management and litigation support outsourcing. Today, we're talking about what law firms are looking for in a litigation support partner with Bill Goodwin from Sterne Kessler. Bill, welcome to the Outside In Podcast. Where are you joining us from today?
Washington, D.C. from Sterne Kessler.
Excellent. Today, we're talking about law firms or what law firms are looking for in e-discovery and litigation support partners. So, however, before we dig into this topic, could you give us a little bit of background on your history in this industry?
Sure. I've been doing now starting my 22nd year. I helped start 3 different e-discovery companies. Did that for 10 years, and then I joined a couple of them were my own companies, and then I joined Latham & Watkins in 2010. I was there for 4 years as a project manager, again in the Washington, D.C. area, and then I transferred over to Sterne Kessler. Been there the last 7.5 years as their e-discovery manager and trial director.
Excellent. And just for the sake of transparency, I'd like to get it out here right now. Sterne Kessler and IST have a working relationship in the e-discovery and litigation support industry. So I was hoping you could maybe kind of outline some of those services IST is providing for y'all.
Sure. It's been a great partnership so far. They provide anything from forensics to obviously the processing, e-discovery, and then we use quite a bit of brain space with them, and then relativity with hosting and things like that.
Now, BrainSpace, that's a AI type technology.
That's
Is
right.
that correct?
Yeah, we primarily use it for what's called TAR, technology assisted review.
Excellent. Who did IST bring that technology to Sterne Kessler? Did y'all bring it as something you wanted IST to provide y'all?
Well, we've been using it before, and I'm fairly familiar with that type of technology because my background is in mathematics. But yeah, I that you guys had it already, and then you've been providing that service for us.
Excellent. One of the great things is you really come with a unique environment or view because you've been on both sides of the table in this world. Um, and obviously, in that e-discovery world, all the companies look very similar. The services they're providing look very similar. So, from that law firm side, what are you looking for in a partner to separate them from the pack?
Right. And I wish I knew this when I was a vendor because it would have made my life a lot easier. But it's kind of hard to know what a person in a law firm goes through until you actually live a day or 11 and a half years in their shoes. The biggest difference between one vendor to a next, it isn't everyone thinks it comes down to price or some kind of unique technology. It really isn't that. It really comes down to uh, the level of care and project management. So your people are really the differentiators from one place to another. Another funny thing, not funny thing, another reason why a lot of vendors miss out is because of lack of accounting. Billing is one of the biggest issues, and I never thought that'd be a problem when I was on the vendor side. How could a simple invoice be the biggest problem to lose a contract? So
I'm in lots of meetings with accounting, so I get where the challenges come from in translating that information from that SOW into that accounting system and then back to y'all in a quick and efficient manner that actually is capturing the right thing. So,
that's right. Yeah, no,
yeah.
and it happens all the time. Yep.
What's one of the biggest challenges you face in managing litigation practices for an Am Law 300 company?
Sure. I mean, I think the biggest thing is just managing so many active litigations right now. Our firm is extremely busy. We have 9 trials on the docket this year, so that's a very abnormal amount of trials that we are right now supposed to go to. Usually they settle out or something happens, but right now it looks like we're going to at least 6 of those 9, so it's going to be interesting. And then just finding ways to manage your data in a very secure manner. I'm sure that the entire industry is talking about security and things like that, but it's another thing to actually apply it. And then having international clients, especially with GDPR, that is a big challenge still, because anytime you want to go and collect data from Europe to be able to use in a U.S. case, it is it's a big challenge to have to go through personal information.
Oh, absolutely. So I was hoping we could kind of dive into each one of those, and you could help let us know how IST is helping you with those challenges. So let's just start off right away. You said you got 9 active litigations that look like 6 of them could go to trial, if not all 9. So how does IST help y'all manage that workload?
Well, I actually have 24 active litigations, but
Oh,
9 that are supposed to go to trial this yeah, we have a small team. I mean, it's just me and one other person. We just hired somebody else from Morgan Lewis though, so really excited to have him come on. But IST is managing, I think, 7 active litigations right now with us. We have a variety of project managers that are on each one. One of the things that's really awesome about IST is that they give you an email distro list that has all the project managers on it. A lot of vendors do this too, but unlike a lot of the other vendors, IST is actually they're right on top of it. So when you send an email, it isn't always the same project manager because that guy might be out or that person may be out. Sorry, and then somebody else just jumps in, and it seems like IST and like a lot of other vendors seems to actually enjoy or like their jobs instead of just a clock in, clock out kind of type of thing.
actually, yeah, culture is definitely a huge
Yeah.
thing here. Responding to emails beat into IST from the highest level. I mean, one of the big sayings at IST is, you got to check before your pillow hits the bed, you got to check every email. And I'm sure with y'all being across the country, y'all have emails coming in 24/7 to our team and everything. So,
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely it. Yeah, we'd up your project managers for requests pretty late into the night. Well, I mean, we don't ask our vendors anything that we don't do ourselves, right?
right.
And so, um, I have a precedent that I will answer every email within 30 minutes. Obviously, when during the week, on the weekends, I do it within an hour, and then I ask IST to do the same. They actually beat that. They try
Awesome.
between 15 and 20 minutes.
Awesome. You talked about data security and managing that, and it seems like every time you turn on the TV, you're hearing about another security breach. So obviously, that's a huge deal here, and this data is y'all's lifeblood to winning these litigations. So, what practices has IST implemented that make y'all feel more secure in that world?
Sure. So I'm very familiar with your forensics team with Andy Jacobs and
Mhm.
his team. They are very thorough when it comes to security on how they collect data, how they transfer data. They don't send things just willy nilly, over the web or anything else. I mean, simple things is kind of funny. IST doesn't even allow you to send a zip file over email. It rejects it. So
Right.
I mean, I don't send zip files that are unencrypted anyway, but it's just interesting how little things like that you kind of notice. You're like, oh, okay, yeah, I can see that they're pretty serious about like security and things like that. But just working with Annie's team and group because I've been to a few collections with them myself, and everything's bit locked, and it's just yeah, they're definitely in tune with the challenges of security today and making sure that they're strictly adhering to those guidelines.
Excellent. And then that last one you talked about is definitely one that's changing constantly, and that's working with these international countries
Right.
and all the different personal information laws they have. So, how is that partnership working to make sure those things are being handled?
Sure. So my primary rep there at IST is Mike Nelson. He's been in the industry for a long time, and he's very familiar with GDPR. And so anytime we have a client, we've had clients in Germany with IST, especially. It's one of the primary places we've had to collect from. They're very familiar with the challenges. IST is very familiar with the challenges that come from that. And then they're very thorough on making sure that if we are going to collect personal information, that we have the documentation that says we're allowed to do so. And then if we don't, then they're very good about actually removing that out using relativity before it even gets into the attorney's hands, and redacting that kind of information before we even have it.
Excellent. No, that's awesome. Kind of talking about that, how this stuff's changing there and everything. This is a industry that between the technology to collect the data and the laws around collecting the data is constantly changing.
Always, yeah.
So, how do you stay in front of that and how does IST help you stay in front of that? So, when you go into a case and what the how you collected that data is going to stand up in a court.
Right. So yeah, I mean the industry is constantly changing. So anytime I have downtime, I'm either talking to colleagues or in other companies or other firms, what works, what doesn't, things that they hear as far as what could or couldn't be happening. Obviously, I'm reading court documentation. We're strictly a patent firm, so most of ours comes out of places like Delaware or Newark or whatever to adhere to the guidelines on there. And then we're just one law firm. So IST has, hundreds of clients that are law firms. So they're definitely more in tune than even I am as far as how the industry is changing from a guidelines perspective or requirements perspective. So if they hear or see something, they always let me know right away that, oh, by the way, you might want to go read this or go do that. And I've done that in the past.
Excellent. Before I ask the next question, I gotta
Yeah.
wave my arms like a lunatic. Sorry. We got the smart sensor
Energy
lights,
efficient new building. That's right.
right, and I if you don't move enough, they pop off there. So
you
it
know,
turned off on me, but I didn't want to be waving like crazy during your answer. Excellent. All right. So we all know that partnerships aren't defined by when things are going right. They're
right.
defined by how people respond when things are going wrong. So I wish I could say, "Oh, IST's done everything perfect for y'all," but I know we haven't. So can you kind of talk about a situation where something didn't go as planned and how IST responded to make sure Stern Kessler still got the service they needed to be able to support their clients?
Sure. So I mean, there's whether it's an accounting issue, like the prices on an invoice were incorrect. Again, Mike Nelson's always all over, or even your accounting department's all over
Mhm.
it. They don't question or get upset or say oh, this is right, Bill, you're wrong, or anything like that. They just do it. And honestly, that's a difference because some places your accounting person isn't a normal relationship type of person. So they do interact with your clients. So you have to be careful about that, right? Because how
Right.
they speak to them. So I've never had that situation with IST, so it's good. As far as data goes, almost every single e-discovery case, there's got to be a hiccup because
Yep.
no two are the same, right? Um, so whether it's the technology of using tar was incorrectly coded, or there was a mislabeling of a confidentiality statement on a document or whatever it is. You all have always been very fast at making a change of that as quickly as possible. Um, Even so, like we've been doing, we have one case with you all right now that is it's all about collecting social media sites, and so we wanted one thing, but again, attorneys speak in a different language than your average person out there. So we're not mind readers, so we gave them a deliverable. You all gave them a deliverable of what you thought that they wanted, and they said this is nothing what we wanted. So then the attorneys talked to me and they're like, Bill, I don't think IST understands what we want. And I was like, well, what do you want? So then I understand what the attorneys are saying. It's like a tennis match, and then I, like shifted back and forth, and then finally we just got on the call with IST to get it all taken care of. And then we just had a meeting of the masses to talk through it, and then boom, it was done instantly. And that's kind of stuff that it's nice to have someone just jump on top of it right away to get in front of, you know, the train before it
Yeah.
goes all the way through. So
It's always amazing. Sometimes you just gotta get on a phone too, and it's great that you're able to reach them because email, text message, all that is not always the best way to communicate. You just can't
right,
clearly, like you said, because 'cause y'all are speaking 2 different languages.
right. And I think the biggest thing is, and IST is a much bigger company than most people realize because they think it's the way you treat people, it seems small, like we're your only client. And I think that always is an amazing thing because right now there's such a consolidation of vendors that they're huge and you feel it's huge. And I'm not going to mention any names out there,
Right, absolutely.
but when something does go wrong and you reach out to your rep, things don't happen right away, not even close, because there's so many hurdles and loopholes that they have to go through just to get something changed or fixed or whatever. That and the illegal industry is a fast moving industry. I have deadlines every day, deadlines.
Yep.
It's not like, when I was in the IT world where you can just this needs to be done in 6 months. You don't have that. So you can't wait. And so that's another thing that I definitely know IST is good at, is that they're on top of it right away.
Yeah, speed and being nimble has been one of those
Right.
things we've always talked about and we have meetings about all the time is how do we respond quickly? How are we nimble? How do we adjust? Because we don't want to be that big aircraft carrier that you can't turn. We
Well, it's
want to be
just
able to
like,
turn on a dime.
you need the Army, you need the Marine Corps, right?
Right,
But the Marines are fast and agile, and the Army just takes a little while to do it. You guys are kind of like the Marines, and some of the other bigger conglomerations are like the Army, right? You
right,
need both, but
right.
what do you actually need today? What do you need for this project, or what do you need for this particular thing? So
Excellent. Cool. Well, just kind of stepping away from that partnership type thing, because you have so much experience in this industry and from both sides, where do you see litigation support going in the next 5 to 10 years as technology continues to change?
it's interesting. I think that more and more technologies are going to come in, and we're all going to have to adjust to it. So some of the things that we do manually today will just be automated tomorrow. That's
Right.
where I see it going. I don't see our A lot of people ask this during legal week and things like that. I don't see our jobs going anywhere because there is such a high demand for someone that understands the legal aspect of things and the technology aspects some things. The difference is I think attorneys are going to have to start being more in tune with the technology side of things than more of the lit support people. We already are there. They're also going to be there. So you might see more attorneys actually coming into our small space that is actually a large space. Um, and then I think almost every case is going to start using some sort of AI or something like that, and that's going to be fine tuned as well. It's actually a really old technology. It's just the user interfaces around it are much older. I mean the CIA and the NSA, they've been using predictive coding or whatever you want to call it since the 70s. I mean
Right.
it's old. I did my first predictive coding case back in 2004 before it was even really well known of what it what this stuff is. So um, I feel like now is finally the time where I see more and more people using it on a day to day basis instead of, oh, I have that one special case in like 3 years that you use it. So I really think that's where it's going is just more adoption of the really kind of cooler tools that are available to people today.
Yeah, I like a couple things you said there. One, you said, I don't think jobs are going away, and absolutely not, because data is becoming larger and larger. I mean, the amount of points to collect it from and everything is just growing. So it's gonna just make the automation and AI is just gonna make it so you might be able to actually keep up.
Right. I remember reading something crazy that by 2025 there will be something like 75 billion devices connected to the internet.
Oh my
That
god.
averages out to 10 devices per person in the entire world. So if you have obviously my son is 4.
Right.
He doesn't have 10 devices, but that means he's one of those people that have 10 devices that are connected to the internet. So you can imagine that it's going to become more and more complex when it comes to data discovery because people are going to store data in so many different avenues, and you're going to like I'm working from home right now, um, and everyone's going to be working from a lot of people are going to be working from home or doing some kind of hybrid or whatever else, whether they mean to or not. They're going to be using other devices for work because it's easy to use. So if you're going to get sued, now all of a sudden you have to collect from devices you never thought of. I don't think at some point Amazon's like Echo and things like that might start storing data,
Right.
start collecting from that. So it's gonna be crazy. I think it's gonna be, yeah, collections and forensics is gonna get harder and harder, especially I think over
Well,
the
yeah,
next
and
five
I
years.
mean, like you said, not only could that Echo be doing it, but we're talking about the building and being smart. I have a smart thermostat system through the building, and you could
Right.
be need that data for something in a lawsuit against the
Right.
manufacturer, and they're
Or
saying the
deployment
system's
lawsuits
working
saying what do
right,
you
and
need?
I'm not, and now we're pulling data from the internet connected HVA system.
Right, or like like an employment lawsuit, or were you actually at work that day? And it's
Right.
actually on a timer and it knows when there is and isn't movement, stuff like that. Yeah.
Correct.
Or even
And then
thinking
the
like
other
if it was a
thing,
criminal case where you at work and you need like an alibi to show that I was,
right? Yeah. And then
yeah,
the other thing I liked you talked about is how it's going to need more buy-in from the law firms and from the lawyers. And we're seeing that completely because when we got into e-discovery 10 years ago, it was literally just the AmLaw
right.
firms. And those small firms didn't know what it was and didn't want to know what it. And now you're seeing the mom and pop that has a shingle up down the street having to learn what this is because that's how they have to get their data too.
Right. Well, I mean, Stern Kessler didn't have any discovery department before I came, and I came with a lot of experience, and we're still a fairly smaller firm. We're only 160 or 170 attorneys, um, but they adopted it right away as soon as I showed it. I think the biggest problem is two things. One, attorneys don't trust machines, right? But when you show them that you're the machine, you're teaching the machine what to do,
Right.
and so if the machine's wrong, it's your fault,
Right.
not the machine's fault. And then two, I think there's still a fear from some of the people my age or older that they're going to lose their jobs over it. But no machine is going to write a brief. No machine is going to write a reply. So it's never going to happen. The days of attorneys having to do document review every day, all day, those might be numbered. They're still going to have to do it, but not all day, every day. So,
Well,
if
it still
anything, I
can't
think we'll
form
be
an
happier.
opinion,
Right.
the machine. So, and like you said, it doesn't know what it needs to be looking for. You've got to give it the questions. You got to create the predictive code for it. Then it's going to do an amazing job of
Yep.
doing exactly what you told it.
That's right. That's right. Yep.
So awesome. Just one last question before we head out.
Sure.
How would you define your partnership with IST management?
I would say it's like family. And I think that's important because you're going to spend this much time with one particular company or with different people. You need to kind of it eventually it's going to feel more than just a professional relationship because you're speaking to these same people over and over again, and then you want to treat them like humans, not just something that's just there. So I think the partnership is a very collaborative one, and one like I said is described as probably as like family. Yeah.
That's fantastic. You couldn't ask for a better compliment, in my opinion. That's what we're going for every day is to make it feel like family because we spend too much time
Right.
at work for it to not be a friendly relationship, a family type relationship. So,
That's right.
Bill, thank you for your time today. This has been amazing.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Once again, I want to thank Bill Goodwin from Stern Kessler for stopping by today to discuss what he looks for in an e-discovery and litigation support partner. As always, to learn more about IST, please visit us at istmanagement.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you are always up to date on the latest happenings in integrated facilities management and litigation support outsourcing.